As a motorsports reporter and being born and raised in Indianapolis, racing has always been in my blood.
I'm a professional racer and car builder, and I've done quite a few car transformations over the years.
And with our experiences and friends in the automotive industry, Colette and I have teamed up to combine our love for cars with our desire to make a difference.
Helping Hands Garage is all about giving back to deserving families who have a project that's seen better days.
It has to be passed down through the family. It can never be sold.
So join us as we roll up our sleeves and drive dreams forward at Helping Hands Garage. Well, there's nothing quite like passing a car from generation to generation until that vehicle needs a little TLC. I'm Katie Osborne.
And I'm Colette Davis.
And this is Helping Hands Garage. Now, the story behind this 66 Chevelle, it's a good one. It was originally a granddad, Steve's dad, in fact. He passed it down to him when he passed away, unfortunately. Steve and Crystal became the new owners of it, and they got it saying, man, it's a cool ride, but it needs a lot of love.
Now, originally, this was built as a race car, but the family wants to go in the opposite direction. They want to transform this thing into a comfortable and reliable,
of course,
daily cruiser that the entire family can both experience and enjoy. Now, with that being the end all, though, this thing is gonna need a lot of work.
And a lot of helping hands, in fact. Before we get to that, it's time to go meet the family. The ma and pops of the Haddox family. I'll tell you, you guys brought a group and one looker of a vehicle that is now sitting in the shop. We surprised that it actually made it into the shop out of the garage.
Very much so.
Yes. That was one of those things where I think when you can now look at your garage and you see the space and you're like, huh, this is very strange. I don't know what it was like to walk across, because that car had been sitting for a long time. So kind of interpreting it from your dad's point of view. If your pops were around right now, what would those conversations be like?
Honestly, he probably wouldn't like it. He doesn't like being the center of attention. So it's kinda, he didn't like being the center. You know.
He'd be happy the girls can drive it.
Yes.
One of those daughters seems like it don't matter if she can drive. She's 9 years old and she is going to drive that thing. Girls set on it saying it's her car. What's the take of that?
She sat in it right there, started it up, and it started when it probably shouldn't have. She's like, that's my car.
That's my car.
That's my car.
Bring us all up to speed as to how you actually got the car, the story behind it, and why, by the way, there is absolutely no interior in it.
Well, my dad was into drag racing, so he did a lot of racing, and that's what he wanted to do with the car at one point. It's the first car I ever touched when I was 2 years old. I remember picturing me with a bumper jack working on it.
So you mentioned working on it, but you didn't mention much of a driving of it.
Never drove it. I took it off the trailer, put it in the garage. That's the only time I've ever driven it.
Like in your entire life?
Entire life.
So now that it's in the shop, what's the ideal? If you could come away from it, obviously, saying, you know, we're checking boxes, as you're saying, I'm gonna check this box and this box, starting with you.
I just want to be able to drive in, take it, and go show it, enjoy it with my girls.
You gotta get that gummy gas out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, you have a job that definitely takes up some time emotionally and mentally and physically as being a detention deputy. What is a day in the life like for someone, and why it's so mentally, emotionally, and physically draining?
Hate to say it this way, but you're basically babysitting adults at times. And you know, however they're feeling or whatever they're going through, it projects onto you. And you got to figure out how to deal with their situations, whatever they are, and do it in a graceful manner as you can.
As it relates to a toolbox, I heard that when this car rolled in and out, there has been a toolbox that we are keeping with it. What's the significance?
My sister, when we got the car down, she's on a trailer. When we looked in the car, there was actually one of my dad's old toolboxes. And my daughter kind of took it over. We put some pictures of her and my dad, pictures of my dad in there, and she actually works on the car when we are out there wrenching on it with some of his tools.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, she's
Her toolbox, her car.
her toolbox, her car.
Can't wait to have that conversation after. Well, Colette, I am no tech expert. We are very aware of this, but I can tell you, this doesn't look normal.
Yeah, it's missing some stuff in there. So, you know, this car was originally built as a race car. You know, Steve's dad didn't need full interior where he was going. Okay, he was going real fast down the strip. So that is going to need a ton of work to turn that into a comfortable and reliable daily cruiser.
Comfort's not a word used right now for that.
But it will be by the time that we are done with it. And in terms of reliability, that's where we will be focusing under the hood. We want to get rid of this old, dated carb setup and go EFI.
Before we get to any of this, it's time now to go meet our helping hands.
So I see you working on my car.
Well, hello, miss.
Hello.
So this is Audrey, and she is our very important helper for this project. So you are the youngest sister, right? And this is her car, as you guys just heard from her. So your dad's it's in his name because you can't put it in yours yet, right?
Yeah.
That's the deal? All right, so as you know, there was a lot of work to get done on this. And you've worked on the car with your dad before,
Yes.
so you're no stranger to this. Ready to get to work?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
And then it's gonna get really easy, right?
And then keep going. Keep going.
Now look, there's a washer too, okay? So make sure you're grabbing that washer with it. All right, and pull it straight up. Doesn't wanna go, leave it like that then. There you go.
In addition to Audrey here helping us out today, we also have Mike and Jeremy from PhiTech. So you guys, talk to us about this complete EFI system that you guys make.
What we're rolling out with now, which is a new product called the Total Package. It's gonna include a gas tank, your fuel lines, your filters, your fittings, and then an EFI system that can support up to 600 horsepower. Now, this 305 is not gonna do that right now, but it gives them the option in the future to be able to swap this motor out and put this back on there.
Audrey already got the old carb out of there, so what are the next steps?
We're first going to take care of the ignition system, get rid of the old stuff, and put in a new HEI. But the carburetor fuel pump needs to come off and get it block off. And we're going to put in our coolant temperature sensor. We're going to get an oxygen sensor welded in later, but then install the throttle body.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Pulling these ones.
Do you think we need to replace that?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Audrey jumped right in and was super helpful getting out the original distributor and some of the broken spark plugs.
This is all about the helping hands, and we've already met a few, but it's not over yet. We have more hands to meet. Brianna, Emo. Brianna's part of the family, and Emo, you're coming in to really help make this upholstery into something. How important is it really when you kind of break it down to have something from, in this case, Original Parts Group, that really pulls the whole car together?
Just basically, you want comfort, you want to be safe, and want to have it done by somebody that knows what they're doing, because these are very interesting covers to put on.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was sitting here thinking, we have hangers, we have parts, we got boxes and tools, and Brianna and I are sitting here thinking, what are we doing with it all? How does it come together?
Well, fortunately, we're starting out with brand new seat frames, brand new seat foams, and brand new covers. And the only problem is since it's all brand new, we don't have none of the old stuff to compare to or to reuse. So now we have coat hangers to use for the wires to put into the seat covers, to hook the seat covers to the buns.
Before we get to really the build process of this, for you, we talk about comfort, we talk about safety, we talk a little bit about reliability. What does it really mean for you to kind of have this whole project completed? She, by the way, flew all the way down here to join her family from up in the Midwest to be a part of this whole project.
Yes, honestly, I know how much this means to my dad. Like, you know, it was his dad's car. I really want to see it run. And honestly, another thing is I would love for it to be fast, because I want to take that baby for a spin.
So now, in order to be able to get in the car and enjoy it, let's get back to how to bring this thing to life from the interior standpoint.
All righty, so we want to start with handing me that cover right there.
By the way, this is the first time I've also ever put a seat together.
So, Brianna and I take turns using what Emo calls hog rings and hog ring pliers to attach the seat upholstery to the new frame. We crush the ring closed, and that keeps the fabric in place. Emo, of course, has some more tips on how to finish the seats, and work continues under the hood of the Chevelle after the break.
We're back in the Helping Hands garage, and the 66 is definitely getting some work done under the hood. Our crew is working mighty hard over there, and I'd like to think that we're working pretty hard over here as well with the hog rings and the hog ring pliers. We've talked a little bit about the seat. Now we're looking at the back. This is looking a little bit different than what we were working with before. Why?
Originally, the frames came with this burlap, which would have been brown, hog ringed to the frame itself. But some companies now will make the burlap inside of the foam to keep costs down.
Yeah, and Original Parts Group has done that for these. This is really economic and efficient in a way to try and make it more streamlined for people like you and now us to get these seats put together.
Absolutely. I think they make it so people at home can try to do it themselves.
And why is the burlap actually that important?
Burlap is there to protect the wire cage from cutting through the foam. Because then if it cuts through the foam, it cuts through the upholstery, and guess what? Then it's going to cut through you.
So taking it to the next level, what do we need to do
Okay,
to kind
now
of get
we're
this
going to
pulled
repeat
together?
the same process that we did on the bottom cushion. We are going to hog ring the cover to the foam itself, like we did last time. And then we will reattach the foam to the frame and stretch it back on and continue to hog ring.
Well, I know Emo did a lot of the work, but I do feel like, Brianna, you and I got our hands a little bit dirty. I did this one, she says. Scale of 1 to 10, how do you think this is going to look in the car?
Oh, 10 for sure. I love the black, sleek, beautiful.
This seat's going to be going in there momentarily. Emo, thank you to you, your wife, and your guys' skill set to really help us better understand
Thank you
how
for
to put
having
these
us.
seats together.
It's another day at the Helping Hands Garage, and yesterday we made a ton of progress on the upholstery and interior for the car, and now we're back with the Tech guys to install some shiny new EFI parts. So, Mike, what are the updates here?
All right, so yesterday we did a tear down and inspection. We realized we needed to replace the distributor, clean up some wiring, change the spark plugs. So we found some broken ones in there.
Yep.
We had a little bit of rat's nest of the original wiring, so we separated that, found our power wires and everything we needed to do, installed the Tech fuse box.
This looks a lot nicer.
Doesn't it? It's a
over
lot
here
cleaner
now.
up there. And now we're going to install the throttle body.
This wasn't the original engine that your dad raced with, right?
It was not. He did have a race motor in it, and him and my uncles built this motor, a little 305 with a cam in it. There's some other little goodies, so it'd be something a little more reliable.
That's awesome. I love that it was also family built as well. And it's going to go in and be the heart of a vehicle that's going to be passed down for generations.
Now we're going to have to go rob your old carburetor for some parts.
Steve, a little tinkering over here. Looks like you're taking the throttle off the old carburetor, huh?
They said they needed the leakage stud off there, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off for them.
This has been quite the process. Before we get to all of this, it's one of those things that's pretty amazing that this car has kind of come into life before your eyes.
It's been a lot of fun watching them do the same things I learned, doing the same little tinkering, working on the car the same way I did, seeing the wheels in their head move around and then figure out how stuff works and see them just get independent and just doing it on their own. It's pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, each of them individually have had their little bits and pieces. They were just telling me it's like arts and crafts. And I'm like, yes, that makes sense to me. Well, it looks like the girls are still in kind of getting busy, if you will. Arts and crafts are still happening inside the car. It's time to move all that in and make sure those seats are placed just the way they're supposed to be.
Okay, so before we get our nice new interior in here, we have to put our sound deadening down. Now, you guys asked, does it have to do with sound? And yes, it does, and it's actually going to keep the sound and road noise out of here so that it's more quiet when you're driving on the road and you can jam out to your favorite music. So you can see how right now, if you move this, see how tinny it is?
Yeah.
When you're driving, you're gonna hear rocks chipping up and all that road noise. And when we add this, it's gonna get a little quieter, make it a lot more comfortable in here. And then we'll have our carpet and interior on top of that. But this is the first step. It's gonna be like an art project. So we're gonna peel and stitch. Ready?
All right, yeah.
At first I thought it was like a sun reflector thing.
It does look that way.
The girls finish up the OPGI sound editing, and next we'll put that car up in the air and see how bad that old gas is from sitting for a while.
Well, the hands have been busy here in Helping Hands Garage. Crystal and I, though, our hands are nice and clean.
Absolutely.
We're watching everybody work right about now. This has been such a dream, as you were saying, to kind of see the girls working on the project. Steve kind of coming alive as the car is also coming alive.
Yeah, definitely.
Why is this such an important dream for you? What is the big picture family dream?
I just want Steve to be able to have fun with the car and enjoy it with his girls. You know, his dad never really got too much of an opportunity to do so. So it's important for him to get it.
Why did he not get behind the driver's seat much?
Well, you know, he was a helping hand himself. So he was the one who was helping other people instead of taking time for himself.
Well, hopefully in this process, there's a little learning lesson for the girls. If we're gonna continue this generation to generation thing, how important and valuable is this time with the girls right now to kind of show them that, hey, it's okay to help each other out so that we all benefit as well?
I think that that's something we definitely have drilled into them so that they do take time to enjoy life.
Well, we gave the young women's hands a break. We decided to lift the 66 Chevelle and get a good look at what's under the underbody of this car. And of course, a little bit of rust there is. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But we know that we want to go from a track car to a street car with Steve's request of reliability. But first things that really come to mind to make that shift is these suspension pieces. What are they all about?
Yeah, it looks like it had some form of ladder bar suspension connected with the 4-link. So I think the ladder bar's got to go. You can keep the 4-link and probably switch it to a coilover.
Well, I think that might be a little more comfortable, as we make mention. And of course, the goal is to get this thing running by the end of today, in fact, right?
So we have to jump on a plane and get back to California.
Yeah,
so
that's
this
what
thing
it is.
has to run today. So part of our total package is included with the gas tank. So we get a gas tank, new setting unit, new fuel pump. It's powder coated, so if the fuel stays in it for a long period of time, it shouldn't get all nasty and gunky, and it should last longer.
Okay, so speaking of gunk, if you're not here in the garage, you don't know, it smells so much like that good old-fashioned gasoline fuel scent. And it comes from this and the stuff that's on the floor, really.
There's a lot of debris in here. We don't want that going through injectors, so everything's going to be replaced. Fuel lines, tank, all the way up to the throttle body.
New filters, everything, and that's all included in the total package.
And total package with FiTech. Thanks, guys, for your work now on this and for getting this whole total package running. It's going to happen.
All right, we got this. Ready? Nice. Oh, wow. This has nice wow, it's very... Well, and I know that you've told me before that to you, this is a lot more than just a car.
When I sit in it, I feel like his presence is somewhere in the car, whether it's next to me or whether it's in the passenger seat or whether it's in the driving seat.
Tell me about the rule that surrounds this entire car.
It has to be passed down through the family. It can never be sold to anyone that's not in the family. And I don't think that we're allowed to charge the people in the family.
That you're passing
it just
it on
gets,
to?
Yeah, it just gets passed down, passed down, passed down.
I can promise you one thing, like all the hard work that you're putting into this right now, building it yourself, it's gonna make actually driving it so much more meaningful and satisfying.
Because I know we put in the carpets, we did the seats.
You ready to finish this thing up, get the interior all nice and finished?
Oh yeah.
So some of the finishing touches for the interior include installing those bucket seats Emo Upholstery put together for us, and we also got a complete center console kit from OPGI that comes with everything we need to give the interior a factory look. And then we finished everything off with some new door panels, and this thing is just about ready for the street. When we come back, we're going to attempt to get it running with our new FiTech EFI setup.
It's almost time to fire up the 66 Chevelle. Welcome back to Helping Hands Garage. Now, of course, as we're knowing, there's been a lot of sweat, a few tears, and as a guy said, no blood. That is gearing up to make sure this Chevelle gets back on the road. Now, the guys have worked very hard on the engine to make this work. Last time this thing fired up, Audrey, this young girl who is 9 years old, who's more comfortable in the driver's seat than most adults, was firing it up. She had the luck of the draw. Let's see if she can do it again. 1, 2, 3. That was unbelievable. What a great response and reaction. And man, she's going to be so comfortable in the driver's seat at one point in this life. She just has a few more years that she will be the owner of Old Man right here. Thank you, FiTech gentlemen, Jeremy and Mike, for coming along on this ride. Audrey and Malia, and of course, the four of you over here. There has been, and we mentioned tears, that actually began with Aunt Kelly. I think you were the one who had the first onset of emotions seeing this thing fired up and kind of coming back to life. Why does it mean so much to you?
Every time that I would go to visit my dad, the first thing that he would do is to fire the Chevelle up for me. It's a little overwhelming to, because it just really makes me miss him a lot more, so.
and the memories that are being made here during the Helping Hands Garage experience for you and the family.
They're wonderful, and I cannot wait to see what Audrey and Malia and Brianna do with the Chevelle.
Still a few things to do on this thing, of course, to make sure that it gets back on the road. But I do have a feeling sooner than later, the whole family is going to be cruising around the neighborhood here momentarily.
Definitely.
Tradition's like a big thing for me, so it's a great thing to be able to pass down and to just see, you know, now 3 generations enjoy it, and we just hope to have it around long enough for maybe another generation to enjoy it. This whole experience was something that we would have never dreamt of to be a part of. Everybody working together, knowing that they had this complete project that they were working towards. And hopefully that will continue now that we're at home and we can set, you know, a day or so aside a week and just kind of get together as a family and continue working on it.
Malia laying the carpet, her and Audrey working together, you know, not fussing or fighting. Then the seats, you know, Brianna helped do that. I love to tell my dad's story. You know, that's probably my favorite thing about it, and you know, being there with the family just added to it.
That was pretty awesome.
Well, Clay, it's almost time for another Lights Out here at Helping Hands Garage, and the good news is that 66 Chevelle is mission complete.
Honestly, the biggest highlight for me was definitely that engine startup moment. You know, seeing Audrey already behind the wheel is just a little glimpse into the future of that thing. And really just seeing how involved each and every one of the daughters were was incredible, and how much it meant to them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for me, I think it was that moment as well, but it was from Steve's perspective. And we saw it in his face that this was kind of monumental, but when he had mentioned it was surreal, that he knew that he would be passing the joy down generation to generation. That was the point of this whole thing. So I imagine that the Haddox family is going to be cruising nicely down in the neighborhood. An old man here very soon.